Hello, for those who don't know me, it's Brother Sean. And I would like to share with you a follow-up video in our Christ Consciousness series. The theme of this short video is really looking at how we relate to friends, to one another, to our neighbor. And if we believe that the children of God are all our brothers and sisters, for we share the same God, then we have a duty of care, first to ourselves, and secondly, to each child of God, regardless of their belief, their lifestyle choice, their political correctness or persuasion, and their ethnicity. So we need to be clear in our mind that to embrace Christ consciousness as we now prepare for the influx of light, it is so important that we can connect with each other without any agenda to control, to coerce, to bully, to manipulate even. So let us look at some notes that I've made for this topic. For our lives to be fully human, we have to be persons in relation, persons who relate rightly to God, to our neighbor, and of course to ourselves, and finally to the cosmos. How many of us relate to the cosmos, and especially to Gaia, to Mother Earth? As a Celtic Franciscan who embraces interspirituality, as a member of the Teo community of interspiritual Franciscans, our God is in the cathedral of nature. We come to our God through nature and the animal kingdom, not necessarily in some lofty, ornate building, but in nature. And Mary Magdalene as a woman symbolizes this life in relation. Her relationship to Jesus was a life-giving relationship. In the social setting of her time, women who were non-persons, who belonged to some male individual, and they still do in certain religions, which is so tragic, don't you think? With no rights of their own. Who would have thought in this modern world that people like the Taliban could shoot a 12-year-old girl in the head called Malala on her way to school in Pakistan, all because she was a female, and they were threatened because here they couldn't control her, and their women were like pieces of meat. Surely that isn't what God created man and woman for. And there are good in every religion, but there is always a core group. As there is in the Christian church, the Judaic, the Abrahamic, the Muslim fraternities, there's always a core group that have an agenda, like the Sadducees and Pharisees in the time of Jesus. They were not encouraging him, they were not pleased for him that he was worshipping the same God, but they were hell-bent on tripping them up to report him. And there's a lot of that, don't you think, today in society? People today are so focused on self. I've seen it in nursing, where nurses, colleagues that you work with by the bedside, you would have thought today that they would be really a good, close networking team, but sadly no, because everybody's out to save their own skin as we live in a recession, particularly because of the financial cuts in care services and getting rid of higher grades of nurses. But it's the same in teaching, in banking, and in all professions. There's a great unrest, a mistrust even. So no one is relating as they should. To connect with the Christ consciousness, the cosmic Christ, we have a duty of care to the I Am presence within us. Yes, the I Am presence of God within us. And if we respect ourselves, if we nurture our spiritual life and feed the divine presence within us by making sure we have periods of silence and stillness, and when we come into the company of others, rather than be argumentative and lofty and bombastic and full of self, we actually take the humbler route, which is not to get embroiled in confrontation. How many people do you know today who love to get embroiled in an argument and who like to intimidate, manipulate, and humiliate? It's right across the board, isn't it? So let's read on. And yet Jesus showed respect for Mary's personhood by calling her woman. That was a term of endearment and respect, thus dignifying womanhood as well for all women. There is something significant in the fact that Jesus appreciated Mary's worth for who she was as a person, and not because she was wife of, or mother of, or daughter of a superior male. She carried her own identity. She was Mary of Magdala. And Jesus not only recognized Mary's value as a person, but called forth her potential as a woman and confirmed her trustworthiness and capability above his other disciples to be his first witness to his life. Mary of Magdala, Mary Magdalena, paid the price for her love of Jesus, the cosmic Christ, as many of us do today. But to work with the divine influx of energies, to be a vortex for those energies, to be used as a vehicle by God for the children of God, to transmute all this negativity that's building up at such an alarming rate from mankind. The ones whom God has chosen to act as a vortex of love, strategically placed around the world, then they need to be in good relationships with each other, with their neighbor, with their friends, and with their enemies, for that Christ light to flow through. Otherwise, you've heard the comments. See those Christians, my God, they go to church on Sunday and the little devils on a Monday. But I much prefer the one of Gandhi, because I have a great love for Gandhi. He said, I like your Christ, but not your Christians, because your Christians are not like your Christ. What was he saying? He was saying that most people who call themselves devout, church-going Christians are not Christian with one another. And that's such a travesty. So, to bring all of this together, when we come into the presence of our sacred oasis and we use our gift of free will and call on the company of heaven to assist us embrace the cosmic Christ of Magdalena, we must have had put in place a framework that encourages us, inspires us, and motivates us to ensure that we are in right relations with our neighbour. Because if we're in conflict, then we're not actually going to be able to discern what the Spirit of God is saying to us within, and we're not going to be used as a vehicle of love. Let us put this slide out now and let us just connect with our heart. And you've heard me say it over and over and over. The heart is our teacher, and Christ consciousness is heart consciousness. For without the heart, there is no life. An important statement, and one that has to be made. The influx of light is inspiring all of us to reawaken our heart, to come back into our heart, wherein we will no longer have to process in our mind and use the famous words which are used in counselling. And what's that all about? And what's that saying to me? Do you get it? Good. I want you to relax now, to be still in the presence of your God, Goddess. Naturally, of course, to call on your spiritual teacher, whether it's the Lord Buddha, Vishnu, Ganesh, Krishna, Sri Chinmoy, Gandhi, Jesus, Francis. It doesn't matter, as long as you invite one of them. Let us focus on our in-breath, that sacred breath that the Father, Mother, God breathed into our spirit long before we were born and gave us a name, a precious name. And as we relax, we become aware that where we're sat, we sense a presence behind us. Yes, there's been a slight change in the energy, and it's like a draft coming towards us. But it's a familial presence. And we're aware that before us, a young man and woman draw a chair and sit in front of us. It is the Christ and the Magdalena. And as they sit in front of us, they both clasp our hands. Immediately there's a warmth, sending currents of love right up into our mind, our body and our spirit. There is now a surge of light coming from the gentle touch of the Christ and Magdalena. It is beautiful, it is pure, it is simple. And with every in-breath that we breathe, we are now being blinded by the love of the Christ. For He loves us. He loves us. And He's trying to make Himself known to us in so many different ways. In so many different ways. And not many are willing to be still and to ask. Come, beloved Master Teacher Jesus, you are the cosmic Christ who initiated the influx of light for 2012. Come, speak to my heart so that I can reawaken my I am presence and my soul's DNA to be prepared for this cosmic reawakening to divine love. Come, touch every part of me. touch every part of me, even my shadows that lurk in the wings and inevitably trip me up when I'm at my most vulnerable. Will you allow your love touch those painful memories so that I can be free? And at this time, visualize yourself walking into the garden. It's night, you see the stars, Brother Sun and Sister Moon are shining, and you're looking up and you're imagining what must it be like to stand in the presence of God. And a voice says, but you are in the presence of God. God has never left you. It is we who have left God. And we bring this thought, this memory, instantly to the Christ, and we ask for it to be blessed. And as He and Magdalena are holding our hands, we are becoming transformed through the radiant love coming from the Christ mystical heart and the heart of beautiful Magdalena, the twin flame of Christ, the beloved of Christ, who bore Him a daughter called Sarah. Yes, she paid the price, but she didn't flinch. She carries on. Even today, she continues to touch lives. And all she asks is that you will come into her space. And as you knock on the door of her heart, she waits to ensure that you know what you're doing, because she does not take prisoners. And you knock again, and there's no answer. And on the third knock, the door opens, and there you see her resplendent, the beautiful Magdalena. Just picture her hair, long trestles of the most beautiful golden ginger hair, with the most powerful blue eyes, and that sallow complexion. And she lifts her arms up to you and runs to you. And as she holds you in her arms, she congratulates you for having the courage to rise above everything that's happened to you and surrender your heart to her love. She invites you to sit down, and now she prepares your feet for a blessing. She anoints them with the ointment of spikenard, and now she holds them and kisses your feet as the beloved of God, as she was. And suddenly you become aware that the cosmic Christ is being brought into your heart through her gentle strokes and her healing light and life energy. She is rebalancing the divine masculine with the feminine energies of God, and she's allowing you see the face of the cosmic Christ Jesus. And He now stands before you, calling you to love, calling you to put aside old ways and prepare yourself now for an amazing shift of the purest love coming from the company of heaven, preparing all of us to embrace Christ consciousness. And with every in-breath that you take, you are breathing in that surge of love. And it's cleansing your mind of all negativity. It's removing the Antichrist from your thoughts and your thinking, and planting seeds of hope, for you are the Christ. You are the Son of God. Be still and know that God is with you now. Be still and know that God is love. And where there is love, there is light. Be still and know that you are a child of God, that you are a beloved of God, and that no one has the right to desecrate your soul, your higher self. No one has that power unless you give it to them. So as you relax, with Magdalena comforting you, with the Christ looking at you, inviting you to come, to behold, to enfold, to hold and to listen to the I Am presence within you, and prepare for the shift of amazing love. Be still. Be still in the presence of the Supreme. Be still in the presence of love. Be still in your divine presence, for you are a beloved of God. You are a child of God, not religion, and your heart is free. Now let it fly and become a vortex of love, and be in right relations with others, for that is so essential for you and I to enhance and to vibrate on such a high frequency. Let us go with our heart, and let us become that vortex of love. You are grounded and protected, and the company of heaven are all around you. So be still in the knowledge that nothing and no one will ever harm you again. Namaste. Until we meet again for the next topic, God go with you. And may you find your peace, the peace of God.